Good morning, this is Reed Stout from Rex Game Studios here to talk to you about the severe weather outlook this week, specifically for today and tomorrow. For today, from SPC, you can see we have a slight risk of severe thunderstorms that extends from about Abilene, Texas, all the way up to about Woodward, Oklahoma, to about Kansas City, down to Paducah, to about Nashville, to a little bit east of Cincinnati. Now that's the slight risk for today. Now that's basically due to a boundary area that kind of elongates along this region here. The only problem that I have here is this northern section. I don't think that's going to turn out to be there unless maybe it happens later tonight, and that's all dependent upon this boundary that lays to the south east of here. The one thing I want to look at here with you all is the actual surface conditions as of right now. And I don't know if you can see this very well, but you can see that there's quite a good push of 60 dew points out here to West Texas and the foothills areas. So I do think there is a chance for some good thunderstorm development here, which may push a boundary northward into the southwestern portion of Oklahoma, which could spark some thunderstorms. But yesterday this boundary did not move at all, so a lot of it depends on what happens with the low-level jet tonight. Also the response to this low that's beginning to form out here in the west. Will this boundary be pushed northward, or will it continue to lag down here to the south? I do think there will be severe thunderstorms out here along this boundary. They'll be isolated, but nothing terribly organized, which we're expecting possibly tomorrow. Let's talk a little bit about tomorrow's outlook. Again, it continues to show a moderate risk by SPC. It's a little bit more shortened a little bit. Yesterday it was a little bit further north. Here it looks like it's been brought down, so maybe they're thinking the boundary is not going to reach as high as it was northward, and also it's a little bit further east than it was back here. However, the slight risk has been extended further south and a little bit more north. Now the probabilities for severe weather tomorrow pretty much remain the same as they were yesterday. Still have a pretty decent size 45% chance for severe weather within a given point of 25 miles of that given point, and then a significant potential of significant severe weather within that area and a little bit further south along the dry line that they're expecting to develop here. Now, here's the problem I have here with this is we have quite a difference between the NAM and the GFS, and it looks like SPC is leaning more towards the GFS even in their discussion. And let's look at the GFS first, and we're going to look at their actual dew points and surface layout for tomorrow at 18Z, and it looks pretty similar to yesterday's view. Still have a strong sub 1000 cyclone that's developing over southeastern Colorado. Boundary area extending pretty much due east from there and due south, so the triple point is in that area there. Dew points are not quite as high as they were forecasting yesterday, but still plenty of rich moisture there. Actually, the axis of moist air, of really moist 70 dew points, extends all the way into Paducah, and I think we're going to have to look at day 3 a little bit more seriously than what they're looking at now, because with those 70 dew points and being April and the heat that's in place and the cold air that's vecting southward with this trough, definitely it becoming more of a neutral type trough too. We could have a bigger outbreak actually on day 3 than I think we will tomorrow, but that's my personal opinion. Obviously, if the GFS is right tomorrow, severe weather could extend all the way into Colorado with the way that you've got that push going in there, that little tongue of moisture going in there. Even though the values are quite low, you might have snow and a blizzard on one side and severe thunderstorms on the other side of that. So there's definitely going to be convective type snow there. The question is where this dry line and where this boundary is. According to the GFS, the dew point boundary is going to be pushing further north into bisecting pretty much central Kansas here. Now, if we look at the NAM, we got a little bit of a different picture going on here. And again, the NAM is still pretty much sticking to its guns too. A little bit higher of the dew points now into central Illinois and central Indiana, but again we see this clear boundary area that intersects across from southwest to northeast across Oklahoma here. And if this is the case, we may have the same situation we had last week, where the cold front slash dry line, drier air undercut the thunderstorm activity and pretty much cut off the chances for severe weather again. So if that's the case, even though the moderate risk is there in day 3, this would pretty much kill that moderate risk pretty quickly. Now let's look at the low-level jet. Let's go back to, well, actually let's look at the instability here. So let's look at the lifted indices. And for the GFS, again, obviously the GFS is going to show very high concentration of lifted indices. All the way down here, it looks like they're now producing possibly negative 11s in central Missouri and in southwestern Oklahoma. And again, if this does verify, we could have a very nasty outbreak tomorrow. So obviously, I don't want to underplay the potential that's there. If the GFS verifies to be the most accurate out of all these, then we will have a nasty outbreak of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes in Oklahoma. However, if the NAM verifies, like we're going to look at the NAM here now, you can see those areas which were pushing negative 11s and the GFS are showing nothing. And actually the lifted indices, the stronger lifted indices, are now further south and off to the east here. So you've got this upper level trough that's forming out here, but all the instability is offset from that trough. You're not going to have quite the outbreak that they're expecting. So we got totally two different pictures here, and it's very important that tomorrow the low-level indices are going to be monitored closely to determine where this boundary is going to be. And actually, really, I think probably by later tonight, if this boundary has not pushed further northward, I think the NAM is going to be the one that's going to verify. Now, the next thing to look at here is also the low-level jet. Now, you can see we don't have a really strong, I mean, it is a strong low-level jet, but I would much rather see values in the 50s and 60s and 70s to see that boundary push northward a lot better, and see a lot more deeper, rich moisture to verify the actual GFS. This is the GFS run at 36 hours out at 18Z tomorrow. Obviously, we have a strong low out here. It's becoming almost stacked at some point, even though the trough is more out here. The upper level trough is out here. But, you know, this is not super strong to verify that we're going to have that kind of a push of that boundary northward. You compare that to the winds at 850 millibars with the NAM, and there is a stronger low-level jet, but it's also kind of blowing off towards the northeast here. So you know, you've got that strong push of low-level jet, and let's look at the 700 millibars, which is more kind of the steering column for thunderstorms. Again, you have a strong push towards the northeast here, which again, with the jet that the GFS was proposing here, would very much support low-level rotation with storms. And if you look at the NAM also, you would see the same thing. Very strong low-level rotation. The only problem is if that boundary layer does not go further north, you're going to have these storms coming off of that deep, rich moisture and pretty much cutting off the updraft, and therefore killing the chances of them becoming long-lived. Now, those are the flies in the ointment. The positives in the ointment, or the positives right now, would be the upper-level wind scenario. We look at the GFS, and again, we have a really strong diffluent flow aloft. This upper level jet here, the subtropical jet, is actually increased in speed here according to the GFS to 140 knots. You know, guys, if this GFS does pan out, this will be a nasty outbreak tomorrow. That's if it pans out, and I'm not completely convinced, but if it does, this will be a very bad situation tomorrow with very strong long track tornadoes, if that does occur. Looking at the NAM is very similar. A little bit stronger area, a larger area of diffluence aloft, but again, a lot of it depends upon that boundary. I think we're going to have to monitor day 3. Day 3 could become a bigger day if this continues. Anyway, we thank you guys for watching, and we'll keep you updated on this situation as it unfolds.